Hey, welcome to the Chuck and Al Show, the space where real life meets real conversation. I'm here with my friend and pastor, and together we're exploring the questions that don't always fit neatly in a Sunday sermon or in a soundbite. Every week, we dig into the stuff that we're all wrestling with: purpose, doubt, hope, relationships, and the chaos in a modern world, and what it actually looks like to live with meaning in a world that never slows down. No perfect answers, no pressure to pretend, just two friends thinking out loud and inviting you into the conversation. This is the Chuck and Al Show. Let's get into it. What's up?
What's up with you?
I'm
Real
back.
quickly.
Yeah.
Man, shorts today. Are you off? Did you? Wait, we got to go back. Last week, all kind of ethical issues.
We did talk about a lot of ethical issues. Yep.
Did you do the deal or not do the deal?
Well, so we turned down the deal.
Turned it down. Okay.
And they still accepted to work with
there
us.
You go.
So it worked out. Yeah.
Did they fire you? Because I noticed today you're not dressed in your dressy dress.
Nope.
Shorts and a backward
here's the thing.
golf hat.
He'll be listening. So, Caleb did the hard work here.
Oh, okay.
There's no doubt about it.
He listens now?
He listens now.
Your boss listens now.
He told me yesterday he was up to episode 8. He's caught up. So he did the hard work of telling them no, and it was pretty fun to watch, and also like nerve-wracking for me as the guy who just wants to do the deal. But no, funny enough, they called me back afterwards and were like, "Hey, do you still want to work with us?" And I was like, "Yeah."
My point exactly. Do life God's way. Seek first the kingdom, and then everything's added to you.
So I'm sitting there thinking, man, I hope they still want to work with us. Well, they were feeling the same way back, which
Congrats, man. Knuckle it up across the table.
Proves that
that's a good ethical choice.
The market needs us there. So
you'll reap what you sow.
Yeah.
I would rather have God on my side sleeping at night than have to go against my ethics.
Well, I think the path is you just start to tell yourself a story. And the question is, at what point do you feel like, okay, I really actually believe this story?
Mm-hmm.
Dear Chuck and Al, 2 weeks ago, a show aired where you sullied my good name as a question asker.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow, this is long. Holy cow.
So somebody just texted you?
Yeah. We just
read
got a text.
it. Read it. Wait. It just came to
We
me
got
too.
fan mail. We got fan mail.
Just came in.
This is like a book.
Read it. I'll listen.
Okay. Dear Chuck and Al, 2 weeks ago, a show aired where you sullied my good name as a question asker and listener. I asked, he
used the word sullied?
I don't think he wrote this. Let's be honest. He didn't write this.
No, he did not. That's his wife.
Thanks, Kate.
Yeah, thanks, Kate. That's his wife.
Now we'll get a text about sullying her good name. Yeah. I've never even heard that word. But I kind of figure out what it means.
Mm-hmm.
Why are James and John called the sons of thunder in Mark 3:17? You told me to ask AI. Before I get to my actual question, I would like to point out the following.
Here it comes.
One,
do you feel like we're getting in trouble?
I don't know.
I don't either.
This text literally came as we were sitting here talking, so this has not been.
I feel like it's my wife.
This has not been proofread.
Okay, go. Do it.
Before I get to my actual point, I would like to point out the following. One, the stated premise of your show is that it's a real conversation. This is Kate to a T.
It's not real. It's not real conversation. We've already admitted it's just me and you.
We're just hanging out.
We don't bring other people in.
So we don't really.
David already let us know that was fake.
We've
already had that conversation, like episode 3. Sure is nice to have you two guys talking to yourselves about yourselves.
So
go ahead. Number
2. As a corollary,
that's Kate.
100%. It's about wrestling well with difficult topics that don't fit neatly into a Saturday sermon with the bounds of a healthy community. Now, boys.
Wow.
Again, not Caleb. Yeah,
Caleb would.
Your response is diametrically opposed as to your stated purpose. Read this as if you were a disappointed mother. Again, Kate. Yeah.
The cookies. By the way, Kate, the cookies were good. She did make us cookies. They were great. Yeah. Go ahead.
The seed of a good conversation is a good question. That leads to a better question until you can live into the best question you can find, which is different for every person on the planet. Shrugging off a question from a beloved community member. Now, hold on. I'm going to pause right there. At that time, you weren't listening. No. So you can't be a community member because you caught up since we answered the question. Yeah. Okay. Just when
whole thing's fake.
Yeah. This is probably a bot, maybe. Shrugging off a question from a beloved community member to sit upon your favorite hobby horse of a topic seems to me like it doesn't fit the brief of your show. Keaton named me the fastest Googler in the office, but if you really leaned into him, He'd readily admit that I'm trying to build a culture both in my home and business where it seems safe to ask questions. The precursor for courage and wisdom is humility and curiosity. Part of the reason we ask questions is not all this is he would never write something this long.
It's going to be the whole show.
Yeah, so part of this reason we ask questions is not only so that we can know ourselves, but also the people around us can hear the answer too. Then we can have an evolving conversation across time, which is how we weave the tapestry of human relationship across the lifetime here on earth and into eternity. Jesus was the ultimate question asker. So I asked my friend and my pastor a question, and if he told me to ask AI, I was disappointed. Returning to the premise of the show, healthy human connection and real conversation within God's community of believers, where forgiveness is the central message, I ask again, why are James and John sons of thunder in Mark 3:17? Yours sincerely, an avid listener to the show, competent Googler, excellent button pusher, and fellow Bry guy. P.S. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, Brian.
Okay, so really, P.S. Thanks, Kate, since you're going to be listening to this. But does Kate listen to his boys? Does she? Yeah. So
I would say as a good friend, maybe we may not be friends anymore after that text. That could have been. Do you think that was a breakup text?
No, I don't think so.
Okay,
I think so. I think Caleb's just identified who he is in his Enneagram, and I think I'm just saying this to push buttons.
Okay,
this is the 8 in him, looking for a good confrontation.
Good,
and
well then I'm going to say
utilizing the excellent written skills of his wife. She's a really great writer.
She is a great writer and a great cookie maker, and
as you can tell, articulated with big words that very well.
She actually came to something called Table Time a few weeks.
She did
last month. It was incredible.
She ended up at the one. She ended up the one 2 weeks ago too, but you had already left when she showed up.
Yeah, she really brought the heat.
Yeah, yeah. She can be.
We need to have her on the show.
She would love that. Probably.
I think she would love.
Yeah,
it.
Yeah.
Have a third kind of like a antagonist,
a voice. Yeah, to just
call
say,
it an
"Hey,
antagonist.
you're wrong.
You're wrong." People to say you're wrong. Here's my thinking.
Yeah.
Her vocabulary may not fit the show. It's above.
Well, we'd be having to
have.
Google what those words mean the
I'd
whole
have
time.
to Google.
Yeah.
Serendipitously, whatever. Well, I guess that's what we're talking about.
I guess that's what we're talking about.
Sons of Thunder, my answer is go ask Brian.
If you want a personal connection, don't ask AI. Go ask
connection.
Brian.
Go ask Brian.
Yeah.
You pay him.
But I think if you were listening, you actually answered the question at the end.
Yeah, I did.
So I actually would encourage this listener to go back and re-listen.
I did answer it.
To the answer that was given. Mm-hmm. It was a very subtle way that you kind of just dropped that in there at the
very end,
while saying you weren't going to answer it.
That is true.
Is there anything more you want to expound on the Sons of Thunder?
No, I feel no.
Okay,
none at all.
Got it.
You can AI it.
So are we going to end the podcast right here? 8 minutes in.
You can talk to Brian. Yeah. Okay. I answered it already. I don't have another answer. My answer would be the same as I answered it last time.
Yeah.
So
if you're new here and you're listening to that and you're wondering what we're talking about, go back and listen to episode 8. Yeah, go back and listen to episode 8.
Yeah. James.
Thanks over here to the guys who make this happen in the background. Thanks, Connor.
Catch me up. What's happening?
Okay,
in your world?
Just got back from.
According to what we just got, the breakup text, we're supposed to be having conversations we can't have on Sunday to take us deeper.
Well,
do you have anything in the depth that you want to talk about?
I had some ideas.
Okay,
I had some ideas. We could talk about church and money.
Church and money?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a pretty hot topic in the world right now.
Seems to be.
There's a guy named Nathan who released a series. Is it a documentary? Would you call it a documentary?
Religion Business.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And you were actually interviewed while he was collecting footage on the front end.
Yep.
He actually just clipped Pastor Daniel Gray across town and did a viral video. He was also on Tucker just 2 weeks ago.
He was.
I watched that as well. What's your thoughts on his mission and what we should be listening to? Because I think as I was listening to it as a tither, I struggled to just go along with it's all evil and corrupt and et cetera. But I do know, like from your side, you've never asked for an offering. In fact, the only offering talk you talk about is the fact that you don't ask for an offering, right? Like I think that's the only money talk I've ever heard here in the last 2 years is that, hey, we don't do that. Mm-hmm. But I've been taught to be a tither, and I think my life's been rewarded from being a tither. And I think from what I have observed, and this isn't a shot across the bow or anything, is he sharing the right message? Because some of it almost seems like, hey, you shouldn't give to the church. I think it started as, hey, there's a lot of corruption and stuff in a lot of these megachurches, which I'm sure there is, but define corruption. I'm just curious what your thoughts are.
I mean, I have a lot of thoughts on that. I met him he was wanting to talk to people who felt like they were doing something worthy in ministry, right? Not just, hey, I'm buying yachts and planes. I reached out to him. He reached back to me, and we had a conversation, and I shared my heart about owning your 50 feet. And that's basically my mission. You know? And he's like, wow, I like that. Explain it. I did. He said, I've got to talk about that with you. So he came here and met a great guy named Daniel that did the film work for him, and we're still friends on Instagram. So when he came, I shared what I believed about owning 50 feet. I gave my, just 30 years of ministry experience about people and humans, and I shared my downfall, I just get, me, man.
You gave him your testimony,
yeah,
basically.
I always do. It's like I'm not hiding anything. And
yeah.
So he had already quit interviewing me, put all of his stuff up, and I just started sharing my heart about what happened in my past. He goes, dude, wait a minute. We got to get this on camera. So he set it all back up, and I gave my story of what happened and shared it with him to the best of my memory of what I could remember. He loved it. He said, that's the best interview I've got. Thank you. I love it. He reached out the next day, still talking about you and your interview. And so we struck up a friendship on Instagram, and I have his phone number, texting, and just always encouraging him while he was going through it. I'd Venmo him. I called it coffee funds, right? Like he's all over the country.
Traveling around.
Yeah, and I would Venmo him about once a week or so, however, and I would just say, hey, man, coffee funds,
Yeah.
And but since it's come out.
Yeah, because you watched it. I haven't. In all honesty.
Since it's come out, I haven't really talked to him because he has been nonstop, right?
Everywhere.
Like everywhere.
Yeah.
Meeting with everybody. He doesn't have time for me anyway. So that doesn't bother me. I didn't mean that
really.
Yeah. I just mean.
I didn't hear it that way. I could totally see how someone would take it that way, but no, he's
doing his thing.
Yeah.
I watched it. I got all the way up to the last episode, or right before the last episode. I knew I wouldn't be in it.
Yeah.
I knew by what they were going to put out, at least in part one, that what I shared with him was not going to make the cut.
Yeah, they had a narrative they were working.
And my story was not the narrative. The narrative was there's corruption in the LDS church, in the church in general, the Catholic Church, and all these mega pastors that are
flying on jets,
screwing people over, basically. Yeah. So I knew I would not get in that, and then that did not bother me at all. Which is not what I was trying to accomplish anyway. I watched it. The only part that you asked for my opinion, right? Yeah. So this is just an opinion. It's not a right or wrong. I think he's wrong. He did it. He did what he did. He did it well. He did it to his own ethical code. And
yeah. I have no cut against it. Yeah.
I just watched it, and I felt like at the end, it was almost a little more hate-filled than I'm just going to expose these people. It was like F you kind of mentality. And as a matter of fact, I think he said that in one of the last episodes. He pointed at Ken Copeland and said, F you, Ken Copeland.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was like, oh man,
it's almost like you lost the message there at the end.
Yeah. Like it's him. I don't care. Like I'm not answering for what he does. He's working hard at it. And he's put a lot of effort to it. And I do pray that God uses it for whatever it needs to be used for. He has stirred up a hornet's nest, which he knew he would do. He likes that.
That was the intention.
Yeah, I'm sure he likes that. He's exposed here's what I told somebody after I watched all 8, I think it was 8 episodes. After I watched them all, I said to a friend of mine, I said, you know what? He basically just put a lot of stuff together that was already on YouTube in a really nice documentary kind of film presentation. Most people, if you were already there, you already knew what Ken Copeland was doing with money. Jesse Duplantis, all these people, right? Yep. There's enough YouTube videos already out there that it
wasn't new.
It wasn't new. Yeah. There was nothing he shared that was new, except some of the, I call it clickbait, where he's going to go in and get arrested and go in. And I'm like, that's what he does. He's a filmmaker. Yeah. What do you think sells people to watch it? It's not going to be the good stuff. It's going to be all the bad stuff. Oh, my God, he got arrested. Oh, my God, he went into this and they kicked him out.
Because all that drama is what makes it entertaining.
Yeah, that's what makes it entertaining.
Do you think it's the other thing that's kind of going on in the world, and this isn't unique to church, this is very political as well, is like there just seems to be a lot of divisiveness, and I feel like this adds more noise to the divisiveness.
I will say yes, it adds noise, but come on, there's so much noise out there now with YouTube, social media. Yeah, I said that to my mom the other day and to a friend. I said, social media today is anything you say at any given time can be taken in or out of context and shared with millions of people, period. Yeah. You're just going to have to be a big boy or big girl that if you enter that world, there's going to be people that loathe you, literally loathe you. Yeah. I watched the interview with, Paul, I don't know what his last name is. Rogan, I think. But I don't remember his name now. I'll have to look it up. But he did the interview with Joel Osteen.
Oh, yeah. The young guy. I know who you're talking about.
Paul.
Yeah. Yeah, he did the interview with Joel Osteen. It was really interesting.
Did you watch it?
I watched clips of it.
Oh, it was great. I watched the whole thing, and it was so funny because
he was like, "So where's your jet?"
He's
Joel's
like, "I don't have a jet. I don't have a jet. I don't have 1,500 cars." You know, he shared. I don't even. So if you're going to be in that world, I love what Joel said on that when he said, "Look, I don't have time for people that just sit around and just try to figure out what they hate about me." And that's my take on it.
Yeah, that was what you heard out of him.
And I really feel that way. Like, if you're going to enter the world of social media and you can't handle the hate.
Well, let's just not even the world of social media, but the world of
people public, in general. In the public.
By being a pastor, you're being public.
And
you're putting yourself out there.
My joke here is
let's see if she can get on the podcast.
You want to?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right.
Hello, you're on the podcast.
Oh, okay. How are you guys?
Good. How are you?
I'm good.
Do you want to tell us about your greatest trip ever?
It was my greatest trip ever. When are you coming?
Oh, that's a great question. That is a good question.
I know. It's hard when you have littles. I will give you a free pass.
See, look at that. She didn't even pressure me into it.
Nothing. I didn't because I understand when I had littles, going out of the country was kind of a big deal.
My wife wouldn't love that.
So I know.
Yeah.
I know. So, but no, it was a great trip. And since I am on the podcast, which I actually had no idea I was about to be, I will say something real briefly because I know y'all have tons of listeners.
Yes.
So, and then I'll be talking about it at church on Sunday.
I love that.
Nonetheless, we were in a little village called Buenos Aires, and it was probably the most poverty-stricken village that we visit when we're there. And a year ago, I met a little girl named Bianca. So a couple of good things happened. One, I was able to reconnect with her. Our phone system had stopped connecting us, and so we haven't talked in about 5 months. But nonetheless, I found her, and that was great, a great happy reunion. But in that, I met her older sister, Wendy, who I am now partnering with my mother in House of New Wine to send Wendy to English school. Long story short, I won't take the whole podcast, but in a conversation at a feeding, she told me she had a dream from the time she's been a little girl. She has wanted to be an airline stewardess. And don't ask me how I managed to get this information with the language barrier, but I do great over there. And she and I had like a 2-hour conversation. And nonetheless, she told me she was smart and intelligent and wanted to learn and had to know English for her career plan. So we kept talking, and I then went into the city by myself, really, just with a translator without the group, and found her an English teacher, and she started last night. So,
how much do we need to raise to fund this English class?
Yeah, I'm trying to get all the totals. It's like $28 a month for the class, and then every time she goes up in a class, there is another, like a $20 fee, and then the book is like $15.
So we're looking about $75 a month?
Yeah, and that's maybe. I mean, most months it's going to be $28. And then every time she goes up, there's going to be like an additional fee on that. And then the taxi driver is like $13 a month. So
we should be able to figure that out.
Yeah, it is.
How many people can we send?
An exciting thing.
I love that she has a dream. You just said this was one of the poorest villages you ever visit in the Dominican Republic, right?
Yes, it is. And the fact that she said career plan just threw me, because you would think that talking to any of them, a career plan would not even be.
Is that even in their vocabulary?
On their brain. Yeah. And that's what triggered the conversation, because most of them, I mean, these are genuinely dirt homes. It's
trying to survive.
Yes. And not one time did she ask me for food. Not one time did she ask me for clothing or money. And she actually did not ask me to provide an English class for her. Sounds like I need one. Did not ask her. I mean, she did not ask me to provide that at all. But as I kept talking to her, I realized, no, she's got a plan.
That's awesome.
She has a plan for her life. And she was kind of disappointed. One of her teachers had gotten pregnant, and they take a year off. And so she felt very pressed for time. She graduates in about 3 years. And she said, I have to do this. She said it would be better if I knew 2 languages besides her native. And she was just on top of her game in this little village. I was like, what in the world? So, yeah, I'm about to call the president of Delta
and figure out if the new president of Delta is listening to our podcast, because we are in Atlanta.
Yeah.
We need a call.
Maybe.
We need a call.
And, yeah, I believe it is the beginning of something.
That's
I don't know.
super cool.
We've talked about the possibilities in the future of, like, partnering with our church and other people who want to, and maybe even adopting like a family in this village, like every person adopting just like a home in this village to, see if we can make impact and change. And to me, having a plan for her future is impact and change. So
yeah,
I'm very excited.
That's super cool. Thank you for sharing. Let's figure out how to raise $100 a month.
Absolutely. It can be done.
Easily.
Yeah, I'm excited. So I'm glad y'all are doing the podcast too.
Yes, absolutely. Cool. Thanks so much. Thank you for giving us your message.
Yeah, absolutely. Y'all have a great rest of your conversation. And Mark, call me when you're done.
There you go.
That's pretty cool. That's
changing the world
owning your
one
5,000
Delta
feet.
flight attendant at a time.
Owning your 5,000 feet.
She's doing it. She'll get it done. She's a get it done kind of person.
Well, it's not an unreasonable
not
ask.
at all.
That's easy.
We'll get it done.
Yeah. Love that. Okay, so sorry, where were we?
No, we were talking about religion, business, and tithing and money. At the end of the day, he does what he does.
Yeah.
I felt like it was a little, it should have been. That was what the
It was the
documentary's
mission.
about. It's the mission. So it doesn't really
but I
matter
think-
what I think. I did reach out and told him what I thought about tithing, though.
Yeah, so
because
can you share what you think about tithing? Because
I feel like what he thinks about tithing and what I think about tithing, I would love to debate that.
Yeah.
Because I think he's coming from, we manipulate it and it's passed away and it's not for today. And I will say this, he is a very generous person.
Yeah.
He's not some schmoozer.
Right. Well, did he ever decline any of your coffee money you sent him?
No.
Okay.
He's a generous guy.
Just
like
checking.
he believes you should give to the church.
Yeah.
He just believes that he would not care if you tithe.
Yeah.
He would just say, if you're tithing, there needs to be transparency.
Okay.
Like wherever you're giving, and then he kind of leans into most places aren't transparent, and so that's kind of his thing.
So in the spirit of our podcast, as
Yes.
we've been called out on, since tithing is not something you speak about because it would be outside of a Sunday, do you want to share what you think about tithing?
Yeah, sure. I don't mind.
Once again, to the listeners who want us to debate, unfortunately, I believe in tithing, so maybe I'm not a good debater here, but
Well, I grew up in it. So I grew up in
Me too.
in a culture where they almost, if not, talked just as much about money as anything.
yeah.
So, and we had what they called an offering sermon every Sunday. So after the worship time, there was always an offering.
About 5 minutes.
Yeah. and
Maybe
it
15.
Was why you should tithe.
Yep.
And I went to a church where if they did not get enough money, now this was 1970s, that they would take up another offering because they had to pay bills, right?
Yeah.
And the evangelist that was taking it up, he was not. He was.
I remember a
literally just
church
trying
where
to
they took the
survive.
offering, and then at the end, if you had a guest speaker, you did another
We
offering.
did that too.
Yeah,
So, hey, we want to bless him for an honorarium.
Yeah.
So I've seen everything. I would almost say I've heard every message you could teach on tithing or against tithing. People who hate it, people who love it.
Yeah.
Here's my take. And this is what I shared with Nathan. And when I say shared it with him, I think I left it on his Instagram as a long post of, here's my thought. I do believe that it was tithing, just for, if you don't know, was a 10% of goods and services rendered to be given to a king.
The first 10.
Yeah.
The best 10.
The first 10% to the king as a tribute of whatever was due, right? Like it's so
Kind of like a tax.
yeah, you owe it, right? But it was so by the time the Old Testament comes around and really gets rolling with systems, Book of Leviticus, and laws and systems and expectations and commandments and duties, the tithe is built in part of that system. It's a religious system, right? It's built into it. Malachi says, you've robbed me. of the tithe and offering. And so I do agree that tithe and offering was built into the religious system of Judaism. It was part of it. God, you don't give it, you're robbing me, you're going to be cursed because of it. So Jesus comes along, and the argument is Jesus, because he ended the old covenant, Jesus obliterated tithing, and now it's just generosity. You just need to be generous. And so
giving $100 to support this girl going to English class, hey, you've checked your box.
Yeah, you've checked your box. But I always say to that is I always say tithing would never be an issue if you were generous anyway, because generosity it's all God's and not mine. I'll be a good steward of it, but I'm not sitting around marking a box that I give 10% or 20%. I'm just giving all the time. I don't even know how much I give. I just give all the time, and I really don't even turn it in for taxes because I'm just giving to random humans.
You're just sending $50 here and $10 there, and it just adds up.
I added it up the other day. It was embarrassing. I was embarrassed, but that's nothing.
You were embarrassed because it was a lot?
Yes.
Why are you embarrassed by that?
Because I had no clue
how much it was.
How much I was giving. Yeah. I just give.
Yeah.
I don't go
bless other people.
I don't go look at my bank account to see.
Yeah.
I just give. And if I feel a nudge, I don't go look at my bank account to go, can I afford this? I just give. I'm just like, here, man, sow a seed, you get a seed, right? So,
so you believe there's power in being generous?
For sure, absolutely. Yeah. And I think, you don't even need the Bible to that. I think there's a
lot of world culture principles, and there's a lot of non-Christian people.
Generous people fare better in life because generosity begats generosity.
Yep. Some of the wealthiest people in the world are some of the most generous, albeit it looks different. People don't want to believe that, but as a percentage, they're some of the most generous people in the world.
And I will say, so I'll give you my take on 36 years of being in ministry, hearing a lot, and where I've landed, all right? Number one, I will say every human I have met, this is true, so I'm going to be very bold. Every person I have questioned about tithing, me personally, and I've said, oh, you tithe? Yes. And they give me their story. I say, did you see a difference in your life once you started trusting God with a 10%? Across the board, the answer is yes.
100%.
100% every time. Yep. I've never met one person yet that said, no, I got screwed up, screwed over, got done wrong. The people that tithe, and it doesn't even matter what the church did with their money, because the truth,
that's outside my control.
That's what I'm saying.
That's not mine to deal with. That's for God to deal with the people who has been put in place. So if I'm submitting myself to you and your church, I believe you're held accountable to God, not to me.
Right.
My job was to give. My heart was to give. What you did with it after, that's not on me.
I truly believe that I will stand in front of the Lord and have to give an account of how I acted down here, right?
Yeah.
I will say this. I don't mean this to brag on myself. It's honest. I told my dad this the other day. In the 36 years I have been pastoring, I have never taken money out of the offering plate for myself personally. You know how money will come in and everybody's counting it?
Yeah.
Well, in the early years of my life, I didn't have all those people. I was a church planter, so I was having to count it myself.
Yep.
And you just got cash everywhere, right?
Random checks and cash.
And you're counting, and I was broke. Well, I won't say broke, but I was church planting.
Yeah.
So, and I was just raised, man, that is God's. Do not touch it. Do not. So I haven't. I have not ever reached my hand in and said, I'm just going to take a 10 or it's God's
money.
$20
for lunch today.
No.
Yeah.
If I do feel that, like a few weeks ago, somebody came and was really hurting and needed gas money.
Yeah.
And I went into the ushers counting and I said, hey, if we have loose cash, I said, how about giving me $30? I think it was 30. I said, give me $30. There's somebody out here that needs gas.
Yeah.
And they said, okay. And I said, well, let's make sure y'all sign off on it because I'm not coming
here grabbing $30 and walking out.
So I've always done that. So, but anytime there's money, there's always corruption. So in the church, there will be. I just go back to most people that are tithing that I've talked to. They never have a regret. Their life does go better. A lady in the church here sent me a text not long ago. It was about a month and a half, 2 months ago. And she said, I had really struggled. I believe in tithing and I quit because times got hard. She said, but just on my own, I was sitting in church and thought, why don't I trust God?
Yeah.
She said, so I gave a tithe today. Now this is Monday, the next day. She said to me, she reached out.
So she gave a tithe on Sunday.
On Sunday.
Monday, she texts you this.
And says, oh my gosh, I just got back all the money I tithed plus more to cover the whole week ahead of me off of all these new orders that came in that I was not expecting.
And you can't make that up.
Can't make it up.
You can't
Impossible.
make that up.
No.
My personal tithe testimony, I have more than one from when I was young, but my favorite one that I do like to tell, when COVID happened, our company lost a ton of revenue just off the rip. A bunch of projects went on hold. This isn't the company I'm with today, but they did a 30% pay cut across the board to everybody. Just say, hey, we're going to be precautionary. If it's not as bad as we think, we'll pay you back. And they did. That same week, I had reached out to the company I work for today and said, hey, I'd like to do some side work. I was getting married. I was buying a house. Mm-hmm. I needed money. And dollar for dollar, and I'd always been a tither, mm-hmm. dollar for dollar, the first side job that I offered to do for free, because I said, hey, I've never done this. You don't mm-hmm. have to pay me. Was a dollar for dollar match of the pay cut that I got the day before, mm-hmm. the next day.
Yeah. That's what I mean. It's so unexplainable mathematically. It has to be
spiritual. I can't make that up.
Yeah. It has to be a spiritual
to
thing.
the dollar.
To the dollar.
Like $1,735
right. was
the first gig. I'm making that number up. But I mean, it wasn't just like, oh, it was close.
Right.
Anyway, keep going.
That's what I mean by it. There's no denying that when somebody does tithe, it releases some strange supernatural thing.
Yeah.
This other lady reached out. This is, again, about 3 months ago, so it's been kind of consistent here lately, which is strange. She came up to me on a Wednesday night, and she said, do you know what? She said, I just decided that I needed to start tithing.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how because I don't teach on it. So, obviously, somehow they think. I say I don't teach on it. I will once a year, but it's not weekly.
Yeah.
And so.
Well, I think that's the Holy Spirit nudging them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said, so tell me what happened. She said, well, I just decided to tithe. And as soon as I decided to tithe, I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I'm just going to give it. And she gave it. And then as soon as she gave it, the next month, the place where she worked promoted her, gave her a raise. She got a raise, and the raise not only covered the tithe 10 she gave, but was more. So she not only got back the tithe that she gave, plus more on top of that.
Yeah.
She said, I can't even explain this. And I said, well, I know it's a supernatural thing, and I'll tell you why I think that. The argument is Jesus ended it because it was something in the, quote, the Old Testament.
It had gotten religious.
It got religious, and it was a system, a religious system where you brought cows, whatever, and you brought your fruit and you gave it to God. However, if you go back, and this was I won't say argument to Nate because he never answered back, but this was my point. This was my point.
Yeah.
In Genesis, the first time tithe is ever mentioned, it's mentioned with Abram and on a battlefield. And on the battlefield that he's at, let me pull it up. Yeah. On the battlefield where he's at, he goes out and he wins this battle, and he comes back with all the spoils of war, which is a pretty cool thing. And when he comes back from the spoils of war, it says this in Genesis 14. After Abram, so this is not even Abraham yet. So this is still Abram, pre-Abraham.
Okay.
After Abram returned from victory over Kedorlaomer, I used to could pronounce that really good, and all of his allies, the king of Sodom went out to meet him in the valley of Shavah, that is the king's valley, and Melchizedek, the king of Salem, and a priest of God Most High, brought Abram some bread and wine, and Melchizedek blessed Abram with this blessing. Blessed be Abram by God Most High, creator of heaven and earth, and blessed be God Most High, who has defeated your enemies for you. Then Abram gave Melchizedek a tenth of all the goods he recovered. In other words, no requirement. There's no law yet. So this is before there's even Israel.
Yeah.
This is pre-Moses, pre-10 Commandments. This is pre-Isaac. This is ground zero. And somehow Abram, who is considered in Romans chapter 4 to be the father of our faith, Abram gave a tenth of tithe before there was a law, before there was a rule, before there was a system of religion.
No one told him to do it.
No one told him. It rose up out of this, and this is what he said. The king of Sodom said to Abram, he said, give back my people who were captured, but you can keep for yourself all the goods you've recovered, right?
Yeah.
I just want my people back. Abram replied, I solemnly swear to the Lord God Most High, creator of heaven and earth, that I will not take so much as a single thread or sandal thong from what belongs to you. Otherwise, you might say, I'm the one who made Abram rich. I'm going to only accept what my young warriors have already eaten, and I request that you give my allies or the goods to my allies. And then he names his allies. In this moment of what happened, I think it's interesting because here's where I kind of landed on. This is so far beyond before the law that I've always asked someone, can you explain to me why this guy feels this need to tithe before? And this is what I get.
He just conquered.
Listen what he said. Listen, this is Melchizedek. Blessed be Abram by God Most High. And then this phrase, possessor. So Melchizedek calls God possessor of heaven and earth. And then Abram goes on, and when he says, Abram says back to the king of Sodom, I've lifted my hand to the Lord God Most High. And they use this phrase, and this is where I believe tithing is so powerful. They use a phrase, possessor of heaven and earth. You and I believe God possesses the heaven, right?
Correct.
How does God possess my earth? The way I know that God is ruler of my earth is I give him a 10% of my earth.
Yeah.
So in God, the creator, possessor of heaven and earth, the tithe is me saying,
this is yours.
God possesses my earth.
Yep.
Right?
He can take it all tomorrow.
He can take it all tomorrow, but I'm going to honor him as possessor of earth.
Yeah.
Because what we honor God in is this.
So it's a form of worship.
Yes, because the way we honor God is he's the God of heaven, and I don't want to go to hell. So pray to him, give him an offering, tell him thank you. But this phrase, long before he's the God of Moses, David, and all of these kings and systems of religion, he becomes the God of Abram, who will be turned to Abraham, his name. And Abram calls him that this God is the possessor also of earth. Here's typically how Christians do it. God, I love you. God in heaven, help my earth. Bless my earth.
Yeah.
Fix my earth. Give me a car. Give me a house. Give me a job. Give me a raise.
Which often can be the result of you honoring his ask, but we definitely do it with like intention of like, okay, I need something here. Let me press my button.
But here's what I believe.
Or let me rub my bottle.
I believe when you tithe and you come to God, again, not a law, not a demand from your pastor so you can get on some team, but out of honor, the tithe to me is Mark Evans making a statement, God possesses my earth.
Yeah.
I'm not in charge of my earth. God is. So God, here's 10% of my earth, right? And so there you go. Take it. Whatever a preacher does with it could care less. Just it's God's. God will handle that. So the moment I make that profession, God possesses my earth, it releases a supernatural hand of God to work in your earth, right?
It's the ultimate set of, hey, I trust you.
You said it. And the two ladies I mentioned said it. I have a myriad of those stories where I'm a giver and it just and a tither back. And it comes back.
You have some good stories too. I've heard a lot of them, and it's just like,
because I believe tithing being the initial, I'm going to honor God. But to me, being generous
outside of the tithe
is me just believing, and I do believe this legit, God possesses my earth. Yeah. I don't own it. God owns it. A car, a house. Robin and I gave a car away the other day to a friend's daughter. Like anything we have belongs to God anyway, and God never fails. We've never lacked.
Yep.
We've never done without. And I tell people, if you're trying to understand generosity based on your balance of your whatever your app, your money app that you're using, or whatever bank you're using, if you try to be generous based on that, you'll never be generous, because that's
controlled.
Because I'm controlling my earth, and if God will give me more money, I'll give God some of it back.
Yeah.
God, if you could just. So I'm in debt with credit cards. I'm in debt with 2 cars. I have a boat. I have motorcycles. I have a house payment. I have all these kids that are doing what they do. So I'm down here just killing my earth like the best I can, slaving, busting hump to pay all these bills. And then I want God to do all this stuff for me. And all I'm saying is to the father or mother or individual that says, God, I'm going to take 10% of my hard-earned money. God didn't work for it. I did. that I'm going to take it and I'm going to offer it as an honor. And all the tithe to me says, God possesses my earth and I trust him.
Yeah.
Period. And the moment that tithe leaves, which is money, which is, you really want to know where your heart is, Jesus says, follow your money, I'll show you the heart.
Right.
So a generous person, you know, follow the money, you'll know where your heart's going. So it just makes a statement in the heavenly realm. And I say to that, if Abraham instituted that in Genesis 14 before the law and the systems of religion, and Abraham in Romans 4 is called the father of our faith, which is after the work of Jesus, then if the father of my faith tithed, I'm going to.
Sure.
I don't care if you believe it or not, or you think some man's going to go buy him a boat and God can handle him. I'm not doing it for him anyway. I'm doing it because I'm making a statement, God possesses my earth. Where people are going to argue a lot is, well, should that go to a church or a missionary or a mission and we'll argue about that forever.
Yeah.
Should it go to my church? Bring it to, and
so
then,
do you think there is a principle about giving to your local church?
Well, here's why I think it's so interesting. To Abram, there was no church or system of religion.
And,
right?
and to be clear, we're talking about two separate things. There's the tithe and there's being generous, and that's different.
Totally different. So the tithe is 10%. It's not like I'm going to work up to it. Like I'm going to give 5. That's my tithe. Tithe is just 10. It's 10%, period. So you can't give 9 and be tithing. It's just 10. And 11 would be 10 plus, and it's more.
Yeah.
You're above and beyond.
That'd be your generosity.
So, you know, my thinking to that is the scripture that people use, bring all the tithe into the storehouse. You're going to be cursed. Well, okay, that was a system. In the Old Testament, there was already a system.
Yep.
Because the New Testament says, I'm not cursed because I don't tithe. Jesus delivered me from a curse. There is no curse on me at all because of Jesus. So I just kind of balk at, don't quote me Malachi 3 that I'm cursed because I don't tithe, and then come over here and tell me that Jesus delivered me from the curse, because that can't work. Either I'm cursed or I'm not.
Yeah.
So
both can't be true.
Both. So Jesus delivered me from the curse. So I don't tithe because I'm afraid I'm going to be cursed or rats are going to eat all my cereal, right? Or
Good distinction.
Yeah. So
which is where the church can get the church when we do.
Well, I'll just make you afraid. You'll give because, oh man, if you don't tithe, man, you're going to get a flat tire. You should have tithe. That's why your washing machine went bad. That's why your kid got sick.
Are you going to heaven tonight?
Yeah, that's so I just leave all that out and say, argue with me why this guy Abram, and then they may say, well, it was just culture. That was the culture of his day. He set the
culture. It didn't exist. Did it exist before that?
Yeah, well, that was a culture of how people handle things. But what I say to that is...
That made it in the Bible, though.
Okay, but here's my argument. But do you know who he tithed to? Melchizedek, and Melchizedek is considered eternal. So the moment Abram...
So he gave to God, is what you're saying, if he's eternal.
Well, right? He gave pre-law, pre-system of worship. He gave to Melchizedek a tithe. Melchizedek is a type of Christ in the New Testament, right? Melchizedek has neither father nor mother. So whatever Abram did to Melchizedek, it was something that's lasting.
It's a symbol.
It's lasting.
Yeah.
Not just a symbol. It's an act of honor that transitions every culture and every system. Because
so you're saying it's outside of time.
It has to be, because Melchizedek is outside of time, neither father nor mother.
Okay.
He's a priest in the eternal order. So Abram back here gives to Melchizedek, who is an eternal priest. If he is the father of faith, giving to an eternal priest a tithe before a system, then I land on, heck, I'm going to tithe to the eternal priest. Who is our eternal priest? Jesus. Jesus is our eternal priest. How are you going to give 10% to Jesus? You can't. What are you going to Venmo heaven?
Yeah.
So how do you give a 10% to Jesus? The body of Christ. Jesus is the head of the church, right? So find you a public gathering of people and give there.
Yeah.
That is... that is how we connect this to, well, why would you give to a building? Why would you give? This is what I believe. You may not believe this. I believe this. I don't necessarily think the tithing has to go to my local church.
Okay.
I think the tithe has to go to the kingdom to honor the work of Jesus Christ.
Okay.
Because he's our eternal king. So I think if you want to send your tithe to a missionary, just make sure they're doing kingdom work. and you're giving it into the king. You're giving in honor of the king to the kingdom. So, and I know people debate that. Oh man, you gotta, wherever you're being fed, you better. Well, here's what I would say.
I don't know if I have a strong stance on that.
Well, here's what I would say to that. I would say if you go to Believers, right? Yep. And you came to me and said, you know what, Mark? I got really inspired, and I'm going to send my 10% down to Oswald to help. I'm going to do that. I'd say, dude, I don't care.
Go for it.
Go for it. But then at the same time, if you sit in this church and attend this church and are part of this church and use the kids ministry and the nursery ministry and
it's
all the
free,
people,
baby.
Yeah, you have to say, well, don't you want to contribute?
Yeah.
To help keep the lights on?
I mean, the gutter's falling off, but
to help keep the air conditioning on. Like this is where we publicly gather.
Yeah. And we hope to bring other people to Jesus.
And here's a strange thing. And this sounds so awful. Oh my gosh. I'll say it because I believe it.
Okay.
The Bible's like, you don't need to muzzle the ox that treads the corn, right? Like, it's my salary, right? It's Michael.
Yep.
It's Jennifer. It's Nessa.
All the people
Marlene.
that make.
Right, like who are giving, like Jennifer and Nessa are down here all the time prepping to give your child the best.
Right.
Michael's up here Monday working with finances and doing all the things, and then he's putting music together. And then you always catch me on Wednesday, right? Yep. And I'm always down here studying like, oh my God, I want something to say.
Yeah.
I do believe some pastors can sit around and not work at all.
Sure.
But I take it so seriously that I earn a living and a paycheck because people are generous to this house.
Yeah.
Puts food on my table, blesses my life. So what I try to bring back is the honor back, to love people, to serve them, to care for them, to pray for them, to bring a sermon that says, dude, that guy put some time to that.
Right.
Like he thought
there was a lot of thought in that.
He thought about that.
Yeah, he didn't go to Google and say, hey, what should I preach about today?
Right. So, I mean,
give me 4 scriptures and 3 bullet points.
And I eat with my parents at Carrabba's. They love the place, right? And there's Sean, and he was a manager there. Like when we walk in, we're like, well, I don't think he deserves money. I don't think the waitress deserves money. I think they're serving you.
Even when I get bad service, I still
bless
think,
them because they serve you, right? Yeah. So that's where I land. The tithe is honor. It says that God possesses my earth, that God is in control of my earth. It's my statement of faith. It connects me to Abram, the father of faith. All of that was done to Melchizedek, who is eternal. Jesus is eternal. He is the head of the church. So the tithe should go to the church, wherever that is. What is the church? The public gathering that's pushing the kingdom. If that's in Kenya or Douglasville or Oshawa, give your 10% there and say, this 10% is to honor. God is my possessor of my earth. And I would just say, make sure it's going to do kingdom work.
So here's where I got disappointed, because I haven't watched Religion. What is it called?
Business.
Yeah. And the title kind of tells it all. I've seen clips of it, and I don't think it's inherently bad or anything, right? I think there's some legitimate things. But to your point, hey, there was nothing there that was new.
No.
Where I got disappointed was when I went in the comments, and you just start reading like comment after comment of people saying, oh, well, I'll start tithing when this. I'll start tithing when that.
Sure.
And in my head, I'm just thinking, oh my God, you think you're so good at managing your money that you can hold it back in preservation for when something's right. And to me, as I'm reading these comments, oh, I'm not going to tithe until this, or that's when I'll start tithing. Why? First off, in my head, my question is, when did you last tithe? First off. And second off, isn't this about you and God and not about you and the church? And if you don't trust your church, why are you there?
I totally agree.
If I don't trust the guy who's supposed to be feeding me spiritually, why are you there?
Yeah, just get out.
That's a you problem.
Right.
Am I crazy for that? And that's where, as I'm watching and listening and reading this stuff, I'm just like, man, it seems like there was good intention to expose some real corruption, which exists.
Yes.
Humans are involved. So if humans and money are involved, of course there's going to be corruption. That's kind of what we talked about last week. But like at the same time, instead of building the church and building faith in people, you really just soured a bunch of people to trust in the system, which means that if they don't trust in a system of some kind, they're just trusting in themselves. And to me, that doesn't work in my head. Am I wrong?
No, it's all.
I mean, it sounds good. I mean, but I know me. And you know you.
The church is a public gathering. So to gather publicly, we either have to go stand in the mall parking lot.
Yeah.
And go, we're the church, right? The church is not an individual at work.
But I think as soon as you think I can control this because I'm better.
True. You're not.
You're not.
No, and there's never going to be a perfect spot. And,
I mean, I don't trust that church with my tithe. And so I'm just not going to tithe there. But okay, that's fine. But you went and bought a new boat. Which one is it?
Yeah, do you trust where your money went when you went to Walmart and they're helping pedophilia, right? Or I don't say Walmart does, but you know what I mean. You're helping agendas that are not godly.
That are not,
and you don't question that.
You send that money.
You don't question what Disney does with their money. You don't question.
You keep going.
You just keep going. So you don't walk into a restaurant and go, I want to see all your financials before I give you my money, right? What are you really supporting?
Personally.
Are you helping all these liberal agendas? I want to see all of your tax before you just walk in and eat and you hope the food's good.
Yeah.
And sometimes the price is high.
You don't go back.
You don't go back. Sometimes they charge a lot. Sometimes they don't. So, but something about the church, should be different. We should act differently.
Should the church do anything different out of this?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think the church should do?
I think he's right. I think there has to be some form of transparency.
Yeah.
But the government doesn't require it.
Have you ever seen that done well in your
years? Well, I've seen people try it, but it usually goes bad.
Okay.
Because the several times I was part of it in other churches, when we had business meetings, and
I remember those as a kid.
Here's what we're doing. This is what we brought in. This is what we do. You would usually get 1 to 2 people who just are on a hellacious bandwagon to be angry at every dime that got spent in the wrong places, right? Like they are the ones that determine it. And so it tends to lend itself that most say, I don't really care. You got some that do care, like, I want to know where my money's going. You got some that are like, it's just so strange, really strange.
I like to hear where, hey, we made a big difference in this year. Like, I like to hear that stuff because that feels good. It feels like I'm a part of it.
Yes, I agree. And I have people here in Believers, and through the years, 36 years pastoring, there are people that were mad at me because I bought a motorcycle one time. I shouldn't. I'm a pastor. I should not be buying motorcycles.
That is hellacious.
They were mad that Robin and I put a swimming pool in our yard. I'm a pastor. I shouldn't have that kind of money. Where did I get that money from?
I should be poor if I'm a pastor.
So I've dealt with that. Now, on the other side of it are the people that just love me and Robin, and they want the best for us. Oh, my God, you got a pool. Praise God.
That's awesome.
You got a motorcycle. You bought a truck. Why didn't you buy the best truck? And I'm like, well, I try to be frugal.
Yeah.
Oh, you deserve the best, pastor.
So you get both sides.
I get both. I get those that loathe me and feel like, and that's a handful. It's not a lot.
Sure. But they have loud voices.
Yeah, they have loud voices. So I think here the reason you don't hear me talk about it is because I'm trying to be obedient. It's not that I don't believe in tithing, but when we built this building and did the reno, I was very tense about the money. We borrowed a $1.12 million, somewhere in there. And I was like, how are we going to pull this off? And God spoke to my heart is you're not going to take up offerings weekly like you do. All right, now this is a tithe sermon.
So this goes back to trust.
And I said, there's no way. I don't know. How are we going to do it? He said, if you will just listen to me and you will preach the kingdom and serve me, I will speak to people to give.
Yeah.
And it's been true. We've been 6 years here. And, maybe once a year I'll talk about giving and tithing. And there is no offering sermon, and we've lacked nothing. God is always faithful. People are faithful. People bless me. Robin, I bless people. Like, this is the most generous group of people I know. Literally, because from the top down, we're just generous.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I could give you a handful of people that loathe the ground I walk on here, and have called me names and said things, and I was like, I love you. So if you're going to get in the game, there's people that believe in tithing, there's people that hate tithing, and I just land on what I just shared with you. I would fight for it. I would fight on the side. I feel like I always say I love debate.
Yeah.
If you put me on the side of don't tithe, I would struggle. I'd be like, okay, I got to fight that. What would I fight? And I would fight it off corruption. I would fight it off,
which is what he's doing.
I would fight it off a system of religious corruption.
But then I think the conversation has to start to shift to here's the solution. Because you can't just throw noise out there saying problems, bad, and no solutions. Otherwise,
Well, his solution, he's got it. His solution is transparency. That's his solution. He literally says, I don't care what you do with your money. Do whatever you want to do with it. Let that pastor drive his yacht, get in his yachts, let him fly his plane. All he's asking is please be transparent. That's all he's asking.
But to that, is it ever transparent enough? At what point? Do you want my bank account statements? Do you want to know what if I ate steak last night or chicken or rice?
I think it depends. There's probably a handful that want to know every single detail of every dime.
You'll never satify everybody.
And every penny. And then there's others who don't care. And at the end of the day, I try to be, well, I don't try. I love the best I can to be ethical and legal, to do what the law says that we should do, and to keep bills paid and to treat people nicely. And some people still may or may not like that. The way we have it set up here is if you have questions, ask. We would bring you in and talk to you and walk you through the financial statements and let you see it. And
yeah, and if you have to ask, I question.
And if that's gone bad. I mean, that here even, that happened several years.
Now, because now I've seen it. Now I got more questions.
That happened several years back, and it got ugly. And
and now because I feel like the person who's looking into it that hard, they're looking to find problems.
It's usually a trust issue,
and again, okay, if you don't trust it, why are you there?
Yeah, I don't know.
Do you trust what I'm telling you on Sunday?
I mean, you just touch people's money, and you're touching a nerve. And I think the greatest...
Oh, that's it right there. Yeah. That's it. What did you say? If you touch people's money, you're touching a nerve. So that's people who believe it's theirs.
True.
That's the core.
True. And it took me a long
that's what
time
we'll name
to
this
get
podcast.
to.
Is it my
I don't
money?
have a nerve on money. I just believe it's all God's. And there is no greater way to live than extravagant generosity.
Yeah.
Extravagant generosity is it's the way I want to live. Extravagant generosity. If I see a need, I'm going to do something to help and not overthink it and just like, it'll come back. Yeah. I literally believe it'll come back. It's a principle. It's a kingdom principle like gravity. It just works.
And I've heard non-Christian people in podcasts and being interviewed, business people that have talked about generosity works.
I would love
and they can't explain it.
I would love to hear the other side, somebody to give me the other side of my argument.
If you'd like to debate.
Not the system of religion that was established, but pre-system, pre-law, pre-Moses, pre-David and Davidic law of what had to be done with the tithe. Melchizedek, who's eternal, who says God is a possessor of heaven and earth. The Father of faith gives to the eternal the tithe. I think the tithe is eternal. I literally do. I believe the tithe is eternal. I don't believe it's temporal.
Yeah.
If you go into the kingdom, in the millennial kingdom, they're still required to bring a tithe and an offering.
We got to do a couple episodes on millennial kingdom. We keep talking about it. One day.
Yeah. Maybe after we already get there. We'll just do
That'd be cool. Yeah.
Do a podcast
Here we are
on the millennial
kingdom.
In the millennial
kingdom. Yeah, that'd be cool. Well, cool. Well, thanks for your time.
I hope that helped.
Yeah, I just my heart breaks because as you read the comments, I struggle with more division, which is already a problem in our nation today. And then seeing people saying, well, I'll just take care of this on my own. And I'm just like, oh man, right. You must be real good because I'm not that good.
The documentary he did, the person that left here angry at me was so happy that I was going to be on it.
Because she thought you were going to get exposed. Yeah.
And so that's what I mean by how quickly when you begin to talk about money, everybody's going to have a comment, an opinion, and okay.
Well, that's what the podcast is for.
You're going to be loved. You're going to be hated.
Yeah.
And I always say if you can't handle both of those, you won't do good to do anything bold and worthwhile. There's going to be people that literally think what I just said was so
blasphemy.
He's just trying to get your money, whatever.
I didn't hear that at all.
And at the end of the day, I think go somewhere you know people. Go somewhere you know their heart. Find you a group of people to plug into that are
look for the fruit.
Look for the fruit and get the public fruit, and then join it, and then start giving to them.
Yeah.
Be a blessing, contribute, and be part of it.
There are ways to see the fruit.
Yeah. Trust me, there are good people out there doing a good thing in the name of Jesus. Don't let the handful of people that have corrupted it hurt.
And also, if you think they should be poor for it, you should wrestle with that. I don't understand that.
You would have to wrestle with it because there's no other place in business or life where we think let's keep people poor. Anywhere. Everybody wants to be paid for what they're worth and the effort they give, and even more at times. So yeah.
Okay.
So you know what I want to talk about next time?
Let's do it.
I want to talk about all the perversion that's in the church.
Perversion in the church. Everything getting exposed.
Everything getting exposed, from all the sex crimes that are happening in
There's
churches.
a lot of stuff happening.
To pastors, to leaders. I want to talk about, what do you think is going on in the hearts of God's people,
Okay.
from a perverted standpoint that's been exposed?
Yeah, let's do it.
You good with that?
Yeah, let's do it next week.
Let's try it, man.
Yeah.
Have a good one. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, Brian.